Hello everybody, my name is John Wright. I'm the Director of Public Relations for Hardin County Schools, and we thank you for watching this edition of HCS Matters with us, with probably the biggest cheerleader, the biggest motivator I think in our district, or one of them anyway, Miss Lynette Kennedy. She's and you can share your title, Lynette, but Lynette works with our homeless program and making sure that students have what they need at home. When I say that, I mean there are several of our students, and she can share the data with us, where they really don't have a place to call home, and that really is a shame, and it inhibits learning and prohibits learning. So Lynette, just talk about how you've been with us now and you surprised me when you said 2.5 years, and things have changed in the program, but just talk about I guess what you see on a daily basis and how those obstacles really inhibit, they're home problems, but they really affect what takes place in our schools.
Yes. So like John said, I am the housing liaison, and my official title is Home School Community Liaison for the school district. We have about 22 schools in our school district, right, which everybody knows. So we're serving about 15,000 students. And with that, you can see this position started in March of 2019. So that's when it first started. Mm-hmm. So for that first school year, we had 113 students that were considered homeless. So when you ask the question, what is a homeless student?
Yes.
A homeless student is anyone who's living in a hotel, anyone who's living in inadequate housing, anyone who is living in a park or just abandoned building or anything like that. And then also the one that a lot of people don't catch is anyone who is doubled up. So anyone who is living with somebody because they can't afford to live on their own, that's what double up is. That is considered homeless, because everybody should be able to afford their own home if they can't afford their own home. So you'll see that take place in our school district. The problem is growing each and every day. Every day I get referrals. Yeah. All the referrals come through the family resource coordinators. They come from the schools. So I work directly with the family resource coordinator. That's where the referrals come from. But we do get referrals from churches. We do get referrals from gas stations. We do get referrals from hotels, because they see that these families there and they know our program exists. So they actually call out, and then we refer them back to the school and get the process started. So on a daily basis, a family will complete a referral. The referral form is just asking, what causes housing crisis, making sure that they actually verify that they actually do have a student in Hardin County schools, because those are the only students that we actually service right here in the Hardin County School District. So we just make sure we verify that information. We ask them all the different questions that we have on our referral form. One of the main things that we are doing is this school year we are making sure that they do have a proper valid ID and social security numbers and birth certificates, social security cards and birth certificates for everyone in the household. Okay. Because with a lot of funding that is out there available, that resources that we can use, those documents are required. We cannot get around it. So if they don't even have them from the moment that we start talking to them on the referral, we immediately try to start gaining that information. So that's basically how it works. I mean, if they contact the school and they're actually homeless, we actually have a program where it's called our 72-hour program, where immediately we take them out of distress. We put them up in a hotel for 72 hours. So that gives them a time to decompress and gives us a time to try to help to figure out what resources that we do have in the community available for them.
Right, so you have worked over the last 2.5 years, and we're going to see some video as we're talking here as we go through this interview, but you're going to see, our viewers are going to see, you have built literally and figuratively a stockpile of donated items. So it's not just, it's not just a roof, but a home, and when we say you're not houseless, you're homeless. And so to build a home, people have to have things like furniture, food, sustainable living conditions, and your stockpile of donated items and donated resources has really helped you grow this program.
Yes. And so what happened is, the reason why that vision came to manifest, where we have like a warehouse of stock of furniture and everything, is that once we would get the families in, work with landlords in our community to get the families in a place to stay, that's all we did. And we were like, oh my goodness, this family now has a place to stay. They're no longer in a hotel. And then they would call the next day and they would say, hey, do you happen to have any toilet paper? Do you happen to have a plunger?
Yeah.
You know, do you happen to know where I can get some furniture? Do you happen? And I was like, oh, we got another gap that we didn't realize that we were fulfilling.
Right.
And so at that point, we would always like send out all these emails, and we would say, does anybody have furniture? Can anybody donate this? Can anybody donate this? It was a very high level of stress because now these people, well, the families are over there living in an empty apartment with absolutely nothing. So now you feel like, you know, you feel that level of stress, like, you know, they don't have anything. So at that point, we try to send out the emails. We would get really good response because, you know, our school system, we do come together as a community. But I was like, we can't work like this every time.
Right.
I mean, this is just too much. We have to be proactive instead of reactive. We already know that we're putting people in housing. What can we do to be proactive instead of reactive? So that's where that came to play. So that's where it came to play that we started collecting essential furniture, meaning something to sit on, something to eat at, and something to put their clothes and stuff in. So, I mean, just being, and something for them to sleep on. So very essential. So, I mean, we also still work with Helping Hands of Hope and getting beds for the children and for the parents if we need them.
Right.
So we still utilize those programs as well. But that's where we came with that from, was getting those essential items, cleaning products, cleaning supplies, vacuum cleaners, bedding, just whatever it is that they need, we have it over there so they can begin their fresh start.
What are the main reasons for a homeless crisis or a housing crisis? What would create that, Lynette?
The main reason for the housing crisis in our area that I've seen are relationships. They're relationships. There's somebody, it can be a husband and a wife relationship, a boyfriend and a girlfriend relationship, a mother and a mother relationship. It can be any type of relationship. The family somehow in this relationship has gotten tense and out of control, and they want the person gone. You know, they want them gone today, and they don't have any place to go. So, I mean, that's what originally starts all of this homelessness. Now, right now, you are seeing people get sick from COVID, and, you know, once that all took place, you know, COVID was new to everybody.
Yes.
And some people handle it better than other people, but you will see that. But the number one reason pre-COVID was mostly relationships. It was a relationship. Somebody said, move down here, I'll help you. And then they stay down here for a week, and it's like, oh, I don't want to help you anymore. But they moved down here, and then now they're in Hardin County, and now their kids are enrolled in school, and now we have a situation that we got to look at. So most of them are just really relationships. You'll see a few, like somebody loses their job, you know what I'm saying? You'll see a few of that. But the most of it is just really just relationships.
How did COVID affect what you do?
Oh, COVID took it to a whole new level.
Right.
Because at the point when COVID happened, we had a lot of families, because we don't just follow the families just one time. We don't just help them. We actually follow the families for 18 months. Okay. So in this program, once we help a family establish in a home and a relationship with the landlord, we follow that family for 18 months because we want to see, are we making a difference? Are this family being able to stabilize their home? So once COVID hit, those families that we had been following right about almost like a year and a half, they were all doing very well. So when COVID hit, it just took it to a whole nother level. It just, everybody panicked because you talking about everybody didn't have a job. So you already had people who were working paycheck to paycheck. So if I already had a lot of families that were working paycheck to paycheck, they were making it, you know, they were working paycheck to paycheck. Yes. They missed one paycheck. And we already know what was going on with the unemployment. It was just all over the place at that time, trying to get, you know, that bridge in. So it just took it to a whole new level. So once they started getting stressed out, they just kind of put their head in the sand, like it was going to go away. And then once it was announced that, you know, nobody really had to pay their rent or pay their utilities because, you know, while they was dealing with this situation, it was kind of announced and people took it the wrong perception that they didn't have to pay. Like I didn't know where they thought was going to happen to the bill. But somebody was going to have to pay it in the end. Right. And that took it to a whole new level. So a lot of people did not understand. So now right now we're seeing the ramifications of that because the bills are way too high. I mean, we got a KU bill that's $3,000. What are we going to do with that? Right. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, it's just like, and then they put them on payment arrangements. And if they put them on a payment arrangements and they can't keep up with those payment arrangements, they can't, you know, so then now what happens? So it's just rolling out of control.
Is your nose above water yet? Are your clients' nose above water in that regard yet?
Yes.
Okay.
They're drowning.
Okay.
Like those families are drowning. We're trying to utilize every resource that we have. We do have a state resource called Healthy at Home Eviction Fund So we are utilizing that, and the families that, just like I said, go back to all the documents, that have all the proper documents and everything, we are able to get some relief through that. So that program has been great for a lot of our families to get out of the situation, but some have waited just too long before they even said anything. They're just now coming to us and saying something within the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of like you waited too long because, you know, you haven't paid anything since May, and now it's, you know, going into December.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a lot of different things.
You talked about relationships and bad relationships being the cause, but you have built a lot of good relationships within our community. And so those have really helped you grow and be able to be a stronger resource. Just talk about the community relationships that you have.
Yes, the community, I mean, our community is amazing. I mean, I mean, the landlords, the churches, the businesses, I mean, there's the government, everything has been just amazing on embracing the program once they find out about the program. Because, of course, we don't talk about it a lot because really nobody wants to be the face of homelessness. Like, you know, we don't want any of our kids to be exposed, you know, that they're homeless and different things like that. So we don't talk about it a lot. But it's out here and it's real. And then when I go and talk to our community partners and explain to them, and they get an opportunity to see the warehouse, or they get an opportunity to meet a family who was homeless and now that we're putting them in housing, I mean, they're actually touched by the stories because they actually see, like they see the kids come up and say, you know what, thank you for this. I mean, one thing about the smaller kids don't have any problem telling the school that they're homeless. they have no problem telling, you know, they're like, hey, we're living in a hotel.
Right.
And those community partners have just done a great job. We went to them and we explained to them how we wanted to be able to put them up in the hotel for that 72 hours. We've had churches who already like made donations to be able to put the families up because, once again, we want to be proactive and not reactive. We know we're going to have families we need to put up in a hotel, and it was stressful calling all these churches and say, hey, can you pay for a night of a hotel? Can you pay for a night of a hotel? So, you know, they already make a pledge at the beginning of the school year. They'll say, we'll pay for 10 nights of hotel, you know, if you need them. You know, we've already put in our budget. We'll pay for 10 nights of hotel. You know, I'll go to this church. So if you get all these churches, then by the beginning of the school year, we have 100 rooms on reserve that, you know, people are willing to already pay for, and then we don't have to go try to figure out like how we're going to pay for all these hotel rooms and different things like that. So
It's not just church. You've had civic organizations, you've had fraternities, sororities. I mean, you have really created a lot of bonds.
Yes. And then we also came up with the price, and that made a big difference, that we also came up with a price point that what money that we do need. In order to service one family, and everybody used to like gas air when I would tell them how much it would cost, but it cost us $2,500 for one family. To get one family stable, not even get them out of it, just to get get them above the water a little bit where they can see outside the water. So $2,500. So a lot of people say that's too much money. And so when you talk about, and that's why I had looked at and I don't know if because people, you know, usually the people that we're dealing with, you're talking about, you got wealthy people, you got middle class people, and you got poverty people. So middle class and wealthy people are not looking at what fair market rent is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they have a mortgage.
Right.
So they're not looking at what the fair market rent, but you're talking about in Hardin County, the fair market rent for a 2-bedroom is $850.
Wow. See, I had no idea.
Exactly. Right. So I always try to give this to the middle class and to the wealthy and say, this is why I need it. So if you're talking 2-bedroom, and the average family has 3 to 4 kids. So, I mean, we're going to put them in 2-bedroom because that's probably all we can afford.
Right.
But technically, they really need 3 bedrooms. If you go up to 3 bedrooms, you're talking $1,100.
Right, a month.
A month, and that's fair market value. So you're talking about by the time we pay a deposit, we pay 1 month's rent, we have to pay utilities to get turned on.
And they need to eat.
Yes, and then they need to have, you know, just like you said, they need to have, you know, food in the home. Most of the time, the families are working because those are usually the families that we're helping because they're working. Now they use up everything they have until they get paid again. And so we don't want them just being like, okay, paycheck, the next paycheck they get, they just got gas and they can't get to work and different things like that. So like you said, these community partners, I've given them a total, and now they can actually see it because I actually include what a fair market you know, what a fair market rate is. And now everybody's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So now if you $2,500 really not a lot of money when you really think about it. Only thing I paid was a deposit, a first month's rent, and some utilities to get started.
Right.
And then put a little bit of food in the house. And now, thank God, we have that warehouse that we're able to pull all that stuff from.
Right,
So
and like we said, John's going to get some footage of that and show you the viewer what happens there. But Lynette, talk about a success story. I mean, you 2.5 years. I'm sure you've seen a lot of success in your time. So tell us a couple of success stories, if you don't mind.
Success stories come in all range, but I mean, I guess the one that I really like, I had a mom. She came to me probably 3 months into my job, so probably like in that May-June time frame. And I was just new, just trying to figure it all out. And then she came and she was referred to me through Renest, which is an addiction program. And they said, you know, the school district, they can help you. And so she walks in my office and she tells me that, you know, she's lost her kids, she has no hope, she's lost everything, and that she needs help. And I was looking, I was like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do with this? Right. And you know, because I didn't have any resources, anything. I had just met my first landlord. And I was like, okay, we can do this. And I said, are you willing to work? I said, if you're willing to go to work every single day, the best that you can and not miss, and let's get a good job, I said, you can get out of this situation. And then she said, okay. So I believed in her, she believed in herself. She went to work, she did what she needed to do. That first landlord I had just built that relationship with, he happened to have a 3-bedroom.
Wow. And
a 3-bedroom townhome. So he was like, I'll give her a chance. So her success story, he gave her a chance. She never missed on her rent. And she lived there for 2 years. She never missed on her rent. And she just bought her first home.
That's wonderful.
So that's a success story
right.
that, you know, that's amazing. Because, you know, she went from being homeless and no hope to now being hopeful and has her home. And she purchased her first home. And she lives in Vine Grove now and a contributor to our society. And how she paid her down payment was she was able to use her 401k.
Wow. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So she was able to use her down payment for that. So that's one of the success stories.
Right. And the reason we do this, Lynette, is because if those children are involved, now they are going to do better in school and they are going to graduate and become more marketable citizens.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And be able to contribute to our community. And that's what we want. So I mean, and the stories go on, but I mean, that's one that really you know, touched my heart with that one. Then I had another mother. She worked at Riley's, and she's been working at Riley's for like 3.5 years, but just that paycheck to paycheck thing. Yes. I mean, just that paycheck to paycheck thing. And her situation was when COVID hit, you know, that one paycheck, when you miss it, and you're, you know, and then she was in that level where they said you had to be at half of the income to receive unemployment, but she wasn't at half. She lost like 40% of her income. Okay. Well, I know, you know, if you lose still 40% of your income, you might as well be half.
Right. That's right. That's right.
You know, so I don't know why the federal government came up with the term of half. Because, I mean, any income loss, you're going to be struggling.
Sure.
So she was in that where she still had to go to work, but she was only working 25 hours instead of 40 hours. Mm-hmm. So losing that 15 hours a week was huge to a single parent. But she persevered, and we worked with her, and she ended up, when she got her stimulus, and that was where the stimulus was a really positive thing, she ended up purchasing a trailer.
Okay.
So she paid cash for her trailer.
Wonderful.
So she ended up purchasing it, and we ended up getting new skirting on it, insulating it, and doing different things like that to be able to really help her. Myself and the family resource coordinator, we utilized a lot of resources. Churches came out and helped insulate it and put the skirting on there. We power washed it, and now she just, like, that trailer didn't even look the same trailer like it did in the beginning.
Because when you have a home, Lynette, talk about the mental aspect. Because when you, I don't know, I've you know, fortunately, I've never been homeless, but it seems like in trying to think like that, a lot of stress would be on me if there wasn't a roof over my head. But you're helping to take that stress away. Yes,
and I mean, and that's a big, huge thing. And like, I've never personally been homeless, but how I related to is that I was in the military, but I wasn't in the military. My husband was in the military, and we had to move every 3 years. So every 3 years, we basically were homeless while we were looking for another place. I mean, technically not, but we were, because we were living in a hotel, and you're living in a hotel with 4 kids and a dog. That's stressful. Yes, so I can imagine, I know what the families are going through, because I was like, if I had the stress, and I had the money to pay for the hotel, and I had the money to buy food, so I can't even imagine like not even having access to all of that and then being in that situation. So when you stabilize a home, it changes the entire environment for the kids. I mean, those kids are so happy and so appreciative that they now have a place to call home. You know, the ones that we do have to put in like a 2-bedroom, and there's 3 kids in a 2-bedroom, they're excited about it because Helping Hands of Hope does give each kid an individual bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then for a while we had a donation of bunk beds. So it was really cool because we was able to put bunk beds in the rooms and just really, you know, make it a home for the kids, and they just loved it and gave them like a trunk at the end of each one of their beds, and,
awesome.
and just really made it a home. So just to be able to go back and then see these families, you know, all the time, go back and forth and seeing them come back and say, I'm in school. I didn't miss a day of school. I'm happy.
Got good grades.
You know, I got good grades. You know, we have food in our house to eat, and all of those things take place. It's just, in a lot of child protective services cases are closed because now these families are stable, and I think that really makes a huge difference. And now they're contributing back to their community, and that's what really makes a big difference.
You touched on it earlier. Elementary school kids, they're going to be, hey, yeah, we stayed at Aunt whatever's last night, or stayed in a hotel. But the middle school, high school students are probably more discreet about that, but yet they still have those same needs. Talk about those challenges of helping maybe those older students.
Well, what happens is they usually have younger kids that go with them. So once the younger kids expose them, you know, so then they're like, so when we go to the school, we ask the older kids like, hey, you know, what's going on? What can we help you with? And really come at it with because we're here to help. I mean, we're not here to cause more stress. We know you're in a stressful situation. That's why we have built the relationships with the landlords. That's how we have built, you know, these relationships in the community. So we're here to help. So we're just letting the family know from the beginning, yes, we're here to help. And so once the high school students and the middle school students realize, like, they'll talk to a friend or talk to somebody and say, yes, you know, she did help, or yes, the school did help us, and we were able to do that, then they kind of like open up a little bit more and just like let us in so we can try to eliminate the problems. You know what I'm saying? To see like, okay, what is the problem? What can you do any differently? Because sometimes an eviction has been called a couple of times by the kids being destructive on the property. You know, and the landlords are tired of it. So I'm like, you understand, you just got yourself put in a homeless situation because of your behavior. So, I mean, we have had that situation, had to have that conversations with kids as well. So, yeah, I mean, once you just kind of like open up to the parents, everybody's kind of reluctant because they can't believe this is true. They're like, there's no way. There's no way you have a warehouse that's going to give us free stuff that's going to help us. There's no way that, you know, you'll help pay, you know, deposits and first month's rent and different things like that, and utilize our community resources and have access to that. So, I mean, having those numbers on speed dial, like Volunteers of America, where they got a lot of federal funds, where they were able to help, having Silverleaf and Spring Haven and the different community resources, community action, you know, it's just been great. I mean, just like you said, all the resources that we have here in the community just coming together. And once people know that we're a spot that you can come to, and then we can kind of branch you out and feed you out, and then we can send that email out. So, I mean, once we gather all the information and they've signed a release of information, we can send that to the other agencies, and that way they can take a packet over there to the other agency instead of refilling it all out all over again.
Gotcha.
So really,
and Lynette, this is not a North End problem. This is not a South End problem. This is a Hardin County problem from West Point to Sonora.
Yes.
I mean, it's all over.
Yes. So far, I mean, as of this school year already, 20 of the 22 schools have a homeless person in there, have a homeless student. So it's impacted 20 out of the 22 schools. So it's only 2 schools so far, but we're just in the first half of the school year that haven't been impacted.
Well, so you're on a pace. You giving me some data here. You're on a pace where to outgrow, to help more families than you've ever helped before.
Yes.
So.
Because when we first started, you know, like I said, it was 113 families that we were able to like help and just was involved in. But this one, to see how we're branching out each month and how more students are coming. And one thing, and right now, as of today, we have 68 students who have been impacted by homelessness this school year. So 68. So
and that's before winter break.
And that's before winter break. And that's before all the evictions, before everything has really taken place. And so with that said, I mean, we really just want to make sure that we're understanding what the needs of our family are. We're able to assist more families. But one thing that we don't have the numbers for, and that we will have them for, but I don't have them today, is that we've been doing a lot of preventative. So you ask, what does the preventative look like? So 68 students, which I already know, like we probably have maybe like 30 preventative students that we prevented from being homeless. And so what does that look like is that this family will call and they would say, my landlord is getting ready to evict me because I can't afford to pay my rent. We'll see what the situation is and assess the situation and work with the landlord to prevent the eviction. So we've done that on about 30 students.
Wow.
So now that's a process we weren't doing before.
Right.
We would just wait till everybody gets evicted
Right.
and then
but
go
it's
help
part of
them.
that more of that proactive process
Yes,
that you talked
I
about.
was like, we got to like talk to these landlords before this happens. So I probably already spoke with like 5 landlords, and today is just Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you know, just having that conversation with the landlords and saying like, what can we do to be a win-win for everyone? What can we do as a school system to be a win-win for everyone? I know you need to get paid. I don't know, you know, we know that they don't have the money right now, but what can we do for it to be a win-win?
Right.
And then, you know, and how can it stabilize the home so the family can move forward? And it's amazing that once we build those relationships and we start having those proactive, preventative homelessness, that's huge.
Right.
Because you got to think that would jump my numbers up really quick to almost 100 right now before break if we haven't helped those 32 families.
Sure. Well, I'm getting a signal here, Lynette, to put on the brakes. But just talk about if someone wants to help you, wants to help our program, our homelessness program, how can they do that?
Just reach out to me, contact me. If you have a family who's in need, contact the family resource coordinators at the individual school that the student goes to. But if you have any type of donations you want to donate or want to get involved, just contact me directly and through Hardin County Schools, and just and I'll see what I can do to help.
We're going to put your name and phone number, your email and phone number up at the bottom of our screen here to help as well. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a lot. I know I have. And Lynette Kennedy, she will not sing her own praises. I will. She has really, she has been such a tremendous asset to our school district and a critical piece to helping students stay in school and helping students learn and forget the problems, the obstacles they have. And again, it's all part of that mantra of helping students succeed. And Lynette is a big piece of that. So thank you for watching this edition of HCS Matters.
So I just want to bring up the part about our community partners. One of our community partners is Silverleaf, and what they have done to be a partner with us, they have given us information about their program, and they have included it in different bags. And in the bags, they actually put tangible items such as a sponge, soap, hand soap, and some towels. And then they also made a bag for the little kids from like 6 and down, and then they made a teenage bag, and also in the teenage bag it has love doesn't have to hurt teens. So it's just really good information that gets in the hands of our families. So we just really appreciate our community partners.